Hey everyone, today we have the pleasure of hanging out with Jossie Morrison. Jossie is a name, she's not a brand name, but she names brands. So she is a brand naming strategy and language expert and the founder of the brand Bulb. After being fed up with corporate life, she launched the brand Bulb 2 years ago to offer proven strategies, positive creative coaching, and practical courses to startups whose budgets and creative confidence might not be as big as their ideas. She firmly believes that small businesses and startups are making our world better, and they're necessary for us to be in a caring and creative environment. So she's here to help us today, as well as startups and small business owners light up the world with their bright ideas. I love that.
Thank you. Hi, it's great to be here, Hannah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I think this is such a interesting topic. When we think about branding, there are so many misconceptions and different ideas of what branding is or what makes up a brand. And I think the work that you do with startups and small businesses is really foundational. And it's not necessarily the font or the logo or the what you're going to wear in your photo shoot, but it sounds like it's more foundational of really pulling out the essence and being able to communicate visually and verbally what it is your ideas are about and who they're for. So, can we start with just your definition of a brand or branding?
I'd love to start there, and thank you. Firstly, I agree with everything you said. A brand is a whole experience of a customer's of a company, and it's as simple as that. And people come to me going, I need a brand. Like, okay, well, what do you mean? Oh, I need a logo. Okay, well, that's part of a brand. Oh, I need a name. Well, yeah, that's part of a brand. I need some colors. That's part of a brand. And a brand is everything. So if you think of a brand you love, an example I have used for years is Ben and Jerry's. How can you not love Ben and Jerry's? And the thing about Ben and Jerry's as an example is they use every bit of their brand to build a whole experience, right down to their funky product names and the way that their ingredients and flavors bring together this like playful, fun, creative ethos. Do some of their sustainable promises and their community promises, and right back to their values that started off the company at the beginning. They're a whole brand, or what I like to call a whole brand. And I talk about something called brand glow as what we're all aiming for, whether we're a really big company or a startup with 2 customers or no customers yet, that's cool too. And I talk about brand glow as the way that a company can really help light up someone's life. And now that doesn't mean that I'm lying in bed fantasizing about Ben and Jerry's. Actually, maybe I am.
Some days, right? After 11 months in quarantine, I might have been there. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. But what I mean is the way that a brand can just make you feel good. And that can simply mean that you feel that you've spent your money in a smart way and got what you wanted. As simple as that, because not all brands are in the joyous category of ice cream. But it can also mean the way that a brand glows to the extent that you might recommend it to your friend, or that you feel part of a club or a community or something bigger. And I think that I'm really happy that over the last 10, 15, 20 years, the concept of brand has become a big deal. Everyone thinks and understands I need a brand, not just a business. But I think that's become an issue for many startups and entrepreneurs out there, because it's become a scary concept. It's become an expensive one. And I've had way too many people come to me with great ideas for really cool businesses that are going to make the world better, whether it's because they've got a really cool purpose or just because they're really fun and have the customer at their heart, who say, oh, well, I don't know where to start because I'm not very creative, or I'm not very creative and I don't know what language to use. And so when I say, don't worry, a brand is your whole experience. And if you can get those foundations right, which is really clear on who you are and what you're offering, to whom and why, then the whole of the rest of the brand is going to follow. So when you use that phrase, brand foundations, Hannah, I thought, yeah, she totally gets this, which I knew you did anyway. Because as long as it starts with total clarity of what you're doing and why, then a brand follows. And I simply help startups to get super clear on that, so that executing their brand into visuals, into a name, into website copy, into customer experience, whatever it might be, actually becomes really straightforward because you're articulating an idea that is so clear in your mind that you know what you need to do next.
Yeah, it can be really overwhelming. And I talk to a lot of folks starting out who wonder, what do I need? Do I need a website or a logo or a tagline or the right copy to start posting? And I totally agree with you that that first step is clarity on the experience that you want people to have. And something you said is so poignant in that it's not about being the most clever or sexy or different or creative, but it really does come back to being the most clear. Be clear, not clever, is feedback I give clients all the time. Like, you're cute, that's witty, but like, dumb it down. Make it more clear.
Couldn't agree more, because when people know what you're about, what you're offering them and what they're going to get from you, they can say yes or no, and people are going to say yes or no anyway, so you may as well give them, be super clear so that you're attracting the people that are going to say yes, and that they then attract other people who are going to say yes, and it becomes a virtuous cycle.
One thing I know that is important to start out, though, is a name or an entity, especially for people who have a dream that's beyond them. Okay. So I would love to know your perspective on naming your company or your brand by your name or by something else. So this is something I was unconscious of when I started my business. So my business is Dream Life is Real Life, but you get coaching with Hanna Hermanson. And I wasn't strategic about it. I can tell you why I decided that, but I would love to know, 5 years ago, what advice would you give Hanna or other people who are thinking about, what do I name my thing? Is it my name or something different?
So for people who are having this conundrum, and it's a great question, thank you, those people are probably facing a situation where they are the product or the service deliverer, where their face, like you, in one-to-one services and coaching and that side of things, are what they're selling, maybe alongside other things, but where that personal focus is them. As opposed to, say, if you're launching a cereal packet, you're probably not going to put your name on the front because it's a product, like a product in a box, if that makes sense. It boils down here to two things: clarity and confidence. Clarity is king, as we've just said. And if I always say to people, if you are the product, so if my name's Jossie Morrison, if I am just selling me, if all I was doing was one-to-one coaching, my consultancy, all my time, always, Jossie Morrison should be the name of my company, because that's who people are buying. But then it comes also onto clarity of goals. So maybe I'll start out, someone might be thinking, is it being just about me? But hey, in 3 years' time, 2 years' time, I want to have a team and I want to scale. And ultimately, I want to keep delivering these transformations for people, but I personally might not be doing that so much. So if you're really clear about your goals, that helps too, because if that sort of thing is a goal, you may want to move towards not such a personal name so that things don't seem inauthentic, because it's not clear, and it's also potentially a bit misleading to say, hey, buy me, and then they don't get me. If it's the brand name. So that's another consideration. And then confidence comes into it. I've spoken to loads of particularly personal coaches, and actually some sort of people in the like parent and baby coaching and sleep transformation coaches, those sorts of people starting up, who've said, should it be my name or not? I don't think I'm confident enough. I don't want my name on something. It feels uncomfortable. And I always say, well, confidence will come as you get clients and as you grow your business. So if any listeners are out there thinking, oh, I think it should be my name because that is what I'm selling, that is who I'm selling, and that's where the direction of my business is going in the future too, but I don't feel comfortable or I'm not confident, I say, screw confidence and do it, because that's the clear and authentic way to brand. I didn't use my personal name because my future plan is to not just have me, Jossie Morrison, as the face of what I do. And because I wanted to use my company as an example of, and I'm not saying it's a perfect example, but an example of what you can pull together with a brand and brand language and a theme and visuals all together, because that's ultimately what I'm helping people to understand and buy into. They're buying into the concept of a brand and how it works across touch points rather than my name.
Right.
So that was my decision. If you want a few more pros and cons, personal brand names are really flexible. So if someone's thinking, okay, I know it's going to be all about me, but I want to start in coaching and then I want to do this, that's great, because the same name will cover you. But if you're called, if you're called Fitness Coach 101, for example, you're going to really struggle to expand Fitness Coach 101 into other services. So some of those strategic things need to be factored in as well. So in summary, I'd say get really clear on what you're offering and how, get really clear on your goals and how you hope to scale and grow the business and your role in delivering those, and screw confidence, because if you get those things right, then you'll get the confidence naturally.
Yeah, so good. I actually took a sort of perpendicular approach, because I chose to name my thing Dream Life is Real Life, because I didn't want to just be like Coach Hanna or like mindset coach or business coach. I knew this was going to evolve, and like Dream Life is Real Life was like my mission, and whatever work I do in the next however many decades like can fit under this.
Yeah.
And I think what I leaned more on was like the goal. And it wasn't just to be a one woman face all of the time, but definitely thinking about this more as like a movement, as a collective. And so that's why for me personally, like you too, like we chose to go with the brand route instead of the personal name. But in choosing Dream Life is Real Life, and probably for you as well, in choosing the brand bulb, I have had to do more work when it comes to my brand voice and articulating what that means and how I'm connected to it. It's not as clear as just like Hanna Hermanson coaching. So I'd love to dive into this more, the brand voice, because I actually think that nailing your voice is the key for lasting success in whatever you choose to do, because it ultimately translate and creates the know, like, and trust factor of not just being another company putting out copy or whatever. So let's get into it. Let's get into this brand voice, because it's key.
So thank you. And I couldn't agree more. A name at the end of the day is just a name, and it really matters. And I love Dream Life is Real Life, by the way, because it's vision oriented. But
also like a positive affirmation every time you say it. So
yeah, Dream Life is Real Life. I love it. I think it's such a great name, and it's what helped me find you. So it's an effective one, at least in my experience. But like you say, it's the language around that name that brings a brand to life, accompanied by visuals then ultimately as well. And that's what it is, brand voice. So I have a little mini training to take you through, and would love to chat through and answer any questions as we go. Because actually you can create your own brand voice in 5 easy steps, and you do not have to be a copywriter to create awesome content for your brand. That's the number one myth I want to bust, because when I was first starting out on my own, I was like, great, these people want me to create their brand language for them. I'm getting paid to write for people's brands. And I just thought that was a win, until I realized that wasn't an end goal, because actually you can write a bit of content, but that business owner is in exactly the same space of not feeling like they can do it for themselves. Which, if you're starting up and looking to create your dream life, you need to feel like you can write the content for your own brand. So to create your brand voice, or tone of voice, however you want to call it, first of all, start with your brand's values. It's all about the values, because this is what defines you as an individual, and it's what will define the decisions that you say yes and no to for your business. So values aren't just, integrity, honesty, authenticity to slap on the front of a website, make it look like you're a really good person. Values are those things that you live and die by as a person in your business. So,
and I want to say something about values, because it's so important to have them and to lean into them, like you said, for making decisions in your business. And in some ways, they make you polarizing, which is a good thing. Yeah. So I think about this as like stores, okay? I don't know if people like Home Depot, let's use Home Depot and Target. I think most people understand this, right? Like Home Depot has the value of like, you come in and you do it yourself and builds from the ground up and it's orange and easy. And, we're all smiley and working hard here. And then Target is like, oh, but you need a few other things. And oh, but also while you're getting diapers, get a shirt too. And like, there's more of this, like, it's a totally different experience.
Totally.
You don't go to Target when you're looking for a 2x4. And you don't want people who are looking for 2x4s to come to your brand. And so I often have this conversation with people who are like, well, I like have this value of Christianity, or I have this value of spirituality that I don't really want to share in my brand because like I know some people don't get it or some people don't like it. Yeah. Well, then those aren't your some people. And I think that what we're talking about of like building the know, like, and trust and attracting the right people and having this like authentic thing going on, you have to own your values, even if they turn some people away. Because at the end of the day, we don't go to Home Depot for everything. We don't go to Target for everything. You don't want to be the just like warehouse of every random misfit toy. You want to, lean on those values, own them, know that they won't be agree with every single human on the planet. And that's the point, right?
Couldn't agree more. You cannot be all things to all people. It really helps with your brand voice to think of your brand as a person, as a personality. Think of it as a living, breathing, walking human with a sense of style, a hair color, a haircut, a face. Maybe they have a gender, maybe they don't. A tone
likes and dislikes.
Likes and dislikes. Imagine what their kitchen's like. Imagine how they do their home. Imagine what they call their dog. Doesn't matter. Imagine your brand as a person. And just like us and all people, those people like and don't like other people. And people like and don't like them. And it's, I think, a real act of maturity. And it's really hard to accept that we can't be all things to all people as individuals. So our businesses cannot do the same. And, so much is said about the importance of finding your niche, but that's exactly the same thing that we're talking about here. It's basically saying, find your people, and your people will be the ones who love what you do and what you're about, and will talk about you and evangelize on your behalf. Not people who go, oh yeah, okay, you seem kind of cheap, so sure, maybe I'll try it. Because then they'll just find the next person who does the same thing for a bit less.
Yes.
Find the people that go, yeah, they speak to me, I like their language, I just like them, I feel good about them, who give that brand glow. So first of all is step one, define your brand's values. And to your point, pick those values, live and die by them, and be brave about them. Not for the sake of it necessarily, but be brave about them. And my top tip here is pick just 3. We all have loads of values or things in our life which we value, but pick 3 which are different and cover different areas. And second top tip here is avoid generic language. So say you know that you want a really fun, playful brand. I've genuinely seen people, or actually big corporate companies, who am I kidding, put as their brand value sense of humor. And you think, well, great, but everyone's got a sense of humor. What type of sense of humor? Are they really sarky? Are they really peppy? Are they really what type of sense of humor? So in writing your values down, just double check that those values can't be interpreted as anything other than exactly what you mean.
Can you give some examples of good ones?
Yeah, so great examples. I really like the value of thoughtfulness. It's because when I hear a brand or a startup telling me I want to be really thoughtful, that to me takes me straight to a type of customer experience, a type of language, and a personality in that brand. So that tells me that person's going to think, oh, how did you like this product? I actually care about your review versus just trying to sell you the next one. That's a really good example of a really clear word. Caring is another great one. It's because that actually shows, no, I really care that the customer's happy and enjoyed the product and felt good about it, or the service, of course, rather than just sell. And again, the reason why I really like those 2 values as examples for right now is because they require commitment to uphold. You can't say you're a caring person, then walk all over people or don't care or don't listen. Can't say you're a thoughtful person without going the extra mile to show thought, be generous, and put people first. So in thinking about those values, be really clear, make sure they cannot in any way be broken down into different variations of themselves, and make sure that they require commitment to uphold, because if they do, they'll be the ones that are actually most true to who you are.
Really good.
Cool. So step 2 is use these values to define your brand's personality. So brand personality is a phrase that's used all the time. And again, I think a lot of agencies out there charge a lot of money for a lot of people to go, oh, I need a personality. I need a brand with personality. But again, personality is a generic word. We all have personalities, but we have really different ones. So what I mean by personality is, if you're a brand were a person, how would you want your dream customers to talk about them behind your back? So what do you want your people, if you were to overhear your customers in a supermarket queue or on a Zoom call, let's be honest, it's 2021, whatever it is, what would you most dream about them saying behind your back? That's the personality you want to be famous for. And the reason why that's a great acid test is because you're not going to end up being famous for features in your products or services. You're not going to be famous for the bonuses or not that you offer. You're going to be famous for the things which people remember. And that's the transformation you offer, how you did it and how you felt, and the style with which you did it. Because maybe your point of difference is your style and just the way that you connect with people, even if you're offering something similar.
Yeah. And I think the most important one, just the way that our ancient brains work, is the feeling, the emotion that you leave people with. So a lot of our clients are just starting out and they think that they need to have this like great service and these sexy modules and this like sleek login thing. And I always remind people that that's not the stuff that's going to get them results or that they're going to remember. In fact, people would appreciate to watch less videos and have to remember less passwords, but feel like they were seen, like they were supported, like they got exactly what they needed. And that doesn't come, again, back to like, that's not about the color of your Facebook group. That's not about it's about how you actually treat people and how they feel.
Totally.
And that's something that I think you're really you're saying, but I wanted to call out because people, who is it? The people remember, how you made them feel at the end of the day, way more than anything else. So
I couldn't agree more. And thank you for summarizing it so beautifully. So for example, and that again, it goes straight back to your values again. Like what do you really, really value in life, in your business, and what your customers, how you're helping your customers transform in some way, whatever that is. And then, so what does that mean for your personality? So say, for example, that you had that value of thoughtfulness. Okay, well, how are you going to bring that together as a personality? Because a thoughtful personality that's not a personality trait. That's a behavior. That's a value. That's a commitment that they uphold. So could the personality trait there be really generous? Are they a really generous person? Are they super personal and one-to-one? So could that thoughtfulness translate into always using your first name, into, always being all about you, always a follow-up, that personal service? Maybe that suits some sorts of businesses and it won't suit others in terms of how they operate. That caring value that we had, again, sometimes care doesn't have to look like softly, warm and fuzzy. It can be a choice in how we bring that to life in our personalities. So caring can translate into making people laugh. It can be about myth busting. So, a brand personality trait that fits with caring can surprisingly sometimes be like, myth busting or provocative, because it's tapping into those things which people might not be able to articulate themselves, or feeling uneasy or unconfident enough, unconfident about, that sort of thing. So get your 3 value words and use those to define your brand's personality. And there's quite a bit of work to do between the two, because you're making choices in how you want to articulate those values and bring them to life. Because like we say, you can be caring in a number of different ways. This is when you choose how you want to do your caringness, or whatever it may be. Once you've got those, say you've got 3 words again, pick just 3, please stick to just 3, because there's only so much that one sentence or a name or website copy can do at the same time. It's that whole world. Step 3 is to then make a list, a nice, easy, bullet pointed list of all the language tools that you actually need to create. So get really, really practical about it here is my next step for people, because I need website copy is what people come to me with, or help, I need a brand voice and I don't know where to start. I go, okay, well, let's break it down. Do you have a name? Yes or no? Do you need or want a tagline? Yes or no? So those are going on the list or not. Do they maybe have, if they're having a website, which they probably will, do they need an about section? Okay, well, that's something to go on the list. Do they need product or course names? Do they need to name their packages? Okay, well, that's something on the list. So get really nitty gritty about what you need to create language for.
And I would also add like your content strategy. So, I encourage most people to just start with one platform, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Clubhouse, TikTok, like name your flavor. But, that takes its own type of voice and deliverables and add it to the list is what I'm saying.
I think that's brilliant advice as well. Like you say, I think it's brilliant advice, Hannah, there to say, pick one channel and do it well, get good at it, get confident, and then think about how you can adapt and scale. And also, I always encourage people to include their automated messages in that list as well. So how do they say thank you for signing up? How do they say, oh, left something in your basket, or you didn't sign up? How do they ask for feedback? How are you doing T's and C's? All those automated messages, which we all have to a different degree, double check those as well, because people read those and they go to people's inboxes, which are private, high engagement spaces. So put those on the list and make sure that, and sometimes people like to start there too. That's another top tip, which is maybe writing website copy is really scary for someone starting out because they don't consider themselves like a natural wordsmith. But actually, they probably could take a stock thank you email and adapt that into their brand language is a great place to start and sort of start flexing their brand voice muscles. So for example, if say you're Ben & Jerry's and say your 3 personality words have come out to be playful, generous, and bold, that's your brand voice brief, your 3 personality words. So take playful, generous, and bold, go online, find a stock thank you email and practice. That's step 4. Practice, practice, practice. Instead of saying, thank you very much for your custom, we appreciate your business, goodbye. Standard email, which we've all received hundreds of times from online shopping or whatever. Okay, let's pretend we're Ben & Jerry's now, or better, pretend we're our own brand. How do we adapt that to be playful, generous, and bold, caring, thoughtful, or whatever it may be? Take the stock phrases and start there for a brand voice, because we don't have to start with that blank, terrifying cursor at the top of a page and not knowing where to begin or what our first sentence should be. We can start by adapting content that's already out there and making it our own.
And there's a reason why there are certain places you choose to shop or you subscribe to certain emails. And one of the like another way to say it, or an assignment that I give clients, is to go out into their inbox and into influencers that they appreciate or that they follow and put on the lens of a market researcher. Instead of being a consumer, like, oh, she sends me this every Sunday. Oh, this is so cute. Oh, I love this picture. Change the lens to why you stop the scroll, what you like about it, why you keep opening it. And oftentimes it is those little personal touches that they use language that you appreciate, that they sign off with, XOXO or something like that. And those little things are what we're talking about. Like, that's the personality. And if you want to be the personality of like the 90s template email, you have been unsubscribed. Okay, you can, that would be a value. But so often, quick case study, like you're talking about Ben & Jerry's, and then I want to get back to this process, but just to underscore the importance and how nuanced it can be, but how powerful this is. I subscribe to, all the food delivery things like DoorDash, Grubhub. I can't even keep Postmates. I can't even keep them all straight. Uber Eats, there's so many now, right? But I subscribe because sometimes we get like discounts. And so I have all these emails. But this week I decided I need to clear these out. We're not doing that anymore. I need to clear out all the stuff I subscribe to. So I go to Postmates. And I never remembered which was which, but now I remember Postmates. I go to unsubscribe. They have this like old school emoji that starts like crying and saying, "We are so sad to see you go. This is where you can find us in the future." And I was like, Well, Postmates is top of my mind because I just made that connection, and that emoji was totally entertaining as
Yeah.
opposed to like, give us the reason. Are you sure you want to unsubscribe? It's like, give me some entertainment. And
Yeah.
while you might not want people to unsubscribe, I now have a lasting impression, even in those little interactions, because people are interacting with your brand in many ways when you're asleep, when you're traveling, when you think they are, when you think they're not. And so I love what you're saying, to think about those little opportunities to embody your values online.
Couldn't agree more. And it's why it's so important to distill your values and then your personality into 3 words each. Because if you have a great big list of things that you're trying to achieve with everything you're going to write, you're going to end up doing that vanilla copy that means nothing to everyone and means something to no one. But if you get that really, really core clarity down, then all those little details can suddenly become easy to execute, and you've got the big list to do that. But actually, you've already said my 5th step, Hannah. You've nailed it, which is keep a language folder going of stuff you see and stuff you love as a customer yourself, and stuff you connect with. Because language you connect with, probably, especially if you're a business owner and founder, is probably going to be quite stuff that you're naturally going to be able to write really strongly and may connect with your dream customers really well, especially if you're running a personal brand. And this can be language in any category, in any industry. So I just keep a folder on my desktop, and in my drive when I'm out and about, whatever, of adverts I see, sometimes bumper stickers I take a photo of, product names, yes, on ice cream tubs and others, all sorts. I just think, oh, that's a cool thing, or I like the alliteration there, or that was a really great way of saying no nasty ingredients that I hadn't seen before, or whatever it was. They can be totally irrelevant to what I personally offer and what I would personally use on a website, but they inspire me when out and about. And then when I have to create content myself, I go into the folder and I just open a few and think, oh yeah, that drew up an idea, or that prompted me there.
Inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah, and inspiration, I'm a big believer that inspiration gives you confidence as well, because if someone else has written something cool, then you can do it too. Especially if you're really clear on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mini training.
I love that. And I call it a swipe file of just like other things you see, just swipe it, keep it for a uninspired day. And, you can go back. And I think it's a really healthy relationship with social media, especially for those of us who are on there a lot, using it for business. Know we can connect with people, but sometimes get caught in that like imposter syndrome or comparison mode or just like digital overwhelm. When you decide that you are a market researcher as opposed to just a consumer who's clicking and sucked into different things, but like you're studying this like a marketer, like a psychologist that you need to be as a business owner, it totally transformed my relationship with social. Not that I was like being sucked into it and it was controlling my mind, but like, oh, like this is really valuable data that I can use to create and not just consume.
I agree. And it switches that feeling of intimidation, of comparison of yourself to other people, to being inspired by them. So, and I totally fall victim to that too. And I work in branding and brand voice for a living and naming, but I'll totally look at other people and think, oh, they've done that really well. Or, oh, am I that good? I don't know. And that's where that swipe file, like you say, is so useful, because I go, instead of feeling inferior, I'm going to screen grab this and think, well, that's cool. What's my version of that? Or how can I do that in my way? How can I do that better and different, versus thinking, oh, someone's already done it? Because the thing about branding is that new and original ideas are actually new and original ways of doing your own thing in your own way. It doesn't mean that you have to come up with a name and a way of saying something that no one ever has. It definitely means never copying what people do, because obviously that's not authentic and not legal. But it means having the confidence to see someone else's stuff and go, cool, I know what my version of that is. I know what's right for me and my customers and my values and personality, rather than trying to be all things to all people. Because when startups have that confidence in what their brand is all about, I see an instant switch in entrepreneurs I work with from thinking, oh, well, I want to do that, and I want to do that, and I want to do that, to going, no, I'm not all things to all people. Back to your comment right at the beginning, because they've got that confidence not to get sucked down the social hole, and instead, like you say, look at it as a researcher and learn.
Mm-hmm. Really good. Really good. Amazing. So will you quickly run us through the 5 steps for folks who might have been taking notes and want to make sure they have the right things headlined here?
I would love to. I've got 5 steps, and I'll give some final top tips too. So the 5 steps. Number 1, get your 3 brand values super clear, and remember that they are words you can commit to as yes or no guides for running your business. Number 2, translate those values into your brand personality words. That's your brief for your language and your visuals. Stop there. Don't think any further about a brief. You've got 3 really powerful words for execution from your personality. Number 3, write a list of all the content you need to create. It might be a really long list, but writing that list will help you go from overwhelm of, I need to create loads of content, to getting really structured about what you need to create and when, and prioritizing it. And include those little bits, include product names, Insta bios, automated emails, include all those different bits. Then number 4 is start writing your first draft, picking 3 different bits first. And if you're really stuck or not a natural writer, pick some automated bits. Pick bits which are already templated that you can adapt into your brand voice, and get confidence there and understanding almost what's not your brand voice, and therefore how you change something to turning it into your brand voice. And then step number 5 is an ongoing thing of keeping that folder or swipe file of all the stuff you get inspired by, which helps to create your own language. And then my top tips to just end up with is, in some ways I shouldn't be saying this, because people do come to me for brand language, but don't outsource your copywriting in the early days if you're a startup, because you need to create an awesome brand voice, which ultimately, when you grow and scale, you can then delegate. But if you're not clear on your brand voice yourself as a startup and founder, it's going to be really hard for someone else to get it. And you risk being not in control of your own brand voice, which, if you're a personal brand, a coach, and dealing one-to-one with people, is so important that it's all joining up in how you speak and how you write. And then number 2 is your point, Hannah, about being a researcher. So ask for feedback, but ask for feedback from your target market. So
not the people who are supposed to be at Home Depot, right?
Not the people who are meant to be with other people who aren't your target market. So your friends and family are brilliant, but if they're not your target market, don't worry too much about their opinion of your language, because they're not the people who you need it to resonate with. Find some people who you do and ask for their opinions. Find some old clients who are always, in my experience, always willing to help or share an opinion. Maybe you could give them an extra help of something back, but ask the people who you need to connect with for their response. Don't ask just anyone. And finally, we said it right at the beginning, think clear over clever. Always think clear over clever, and you can't go wrong.
Oh, so good. I love that pretty bow, and such a useful package of, really thinking about either launching your brand or scaling, or really just improving it, right? I think a lot of what we said today sounds like, oh, it's the very beginning. You're going to name it. Oh, you're going to start this thing. But branding is an evolution. And whether you've been in business for 5 minutes or 5 years, these are definitely things that you want to be aware of, mindful of, and put some strategy behind cleaning up or improving. So good. This is one that I will definitely be sending people back to for, many months to come in the future. And I'm curious, as people are listening to this, revisiting this, taking notes on this, how can they continue the conversation with you, Jossie?
Thank you for asking. So follow me on Instagram. It's the Brand Bulb 1 at Instagram, and on Facebook we are the Brand Bulb. So follow me there. That would be great.
Amazing.
DM me, send me a message. I have an endless appetite for helping startups create the brand they dream of and turn their big ideas into something that will do them justice. And check out my website too, www.thebrandbulb.com, where what we offer, there's a brand naming course and various toolkits as well to help get you started and get you clear. It's all there.
Really good. Thebrandbulb.com. Thank you so much, Jossie, for all of this wonderful insight and tactical knowledge today. Friends, I will be back next week with another inspiring guest that will help you make your dream life your real life.